Hello, everyone, and happy Thursday. Welcome to this episode of Reinventing Your True Self. I want to start by saying I'm meant to be here last week. I tried to be here last week, and my week had just got flipped all around, and I was in a vortex of just energy that kept me kind of moving only with what's in front of me. I even had this content ready that I'm going to share with you today. Ready for last week. I had it set up and ready to go live last week. And every time I would try to do different things last week, things kept changing. My schedule kept changing. So I want to start today's topic for you with a thought. And it's what I experienced last week, which is why I wasn't even here last week, have you ever made a mistake? And then have you ever felt like maybe your mistakes define who you are? You know, we're human. We are going to make mistakes. Everyone can make mistakes. Hi, Kelly, and hi, Dr. Pat. Thanks for being here. And also I want to say something really quick before I go on. Those of you that's on Facebook, I hit this app and I can't figure out how to shut it off before I came in here, and it turned the viewing blue. So I look like a Smurf right now if you're following me, probably on YouTube and Facebook, but on Instagram, you know, I look like my normal stuff. So there you go. Here's an example of making a mistake, right? Just as I came in here, I hit the wrong app to turn everything on. But I think key in that I could say is are you going to let this mistake stop you? You know, I could have easily been like, okay, I'm blue today. So I'm literally blue on the screen. So is that going to stop me from getting on here and going live? Or am I going to just keep rolling with what needs to be done? Or I could spend the whole amount of time trying to figure out how to even fix this blue screen, right? I think we get caught up sometimes in those mistakes, and those mistakes can block us from moving forward, and they keep us stuck going through processes of trying to, bring out that perfectionist or the things that we perceive to be not good enough, basically. And one of the things on my journey that I have learned to embrace is that as long as I show up and be my true self and I truly share who I am, that gives permission to people that follow you or want to, that maybe you're inspiring or impacting. It gives you as like that inspirational leader the opportunity to show up real, raw, and authentic. And that's a piece of your message. And if it's not, and you're still stuck in the perfection side of that or controlling certain things within that, then you're holding up your own process, your own ability for personal growth or spiritual growth. And so that's kind of where I want to talk about. And there's several of you joining me, especially here on Instagram. So thank you for joining me. Today's topic and the series I've been doing about reinventing your true self is about, do you allow your mistakes to define you? Or are you embracing those mistakes as growth, as lessons, as things that can teach you something about yourself? And also, when there's a mistake, it a lot of times involves another person or with another person. And so the thing I know for myself in that journey is that because I'm in a position to be kind of in this influential or, an influencer, then when I show up to even do retreats or in sessions with people that maybe I've never even met, I tend to go through things in such a way that I experience those things so I understand. But not just so I understand, but I become the reflection for other people to see their own growth, their own self in my examples. And that's what, the walk of Christ was the living truth of examples and being an example and showing up in your truth, sharing your light, and showing the way for other people. That's the same path of that. So when you walk that true path to your own self and your own higher self, you are automatically in a position to be an influencer, whether you know it or not. People are watching you. And especially if you're on social media these days, people watch you. And the other thing is we tend to be observers of things ourselves. And what tends to happen is when we observe something, what we see in it exists inside of us. So if you're seeing inside of that, like a sense of like that's not good enough, or you have an expectation, or you're being in control with it, that's a reflection inside of you of something inside of you that you need to see within yourself. So when we go through these mistakes, not only are we growing in them, and the experiences show up to give us the like the I should say the situations show up to give us the experience we need to reflect to our own selves what it is we need to see through that process of maybe even making a mistake. There's always growth in that. And so, are you growing in it, seeing it, or are you judging it? And when you judge it, then what happens is what you see in that person is really the reflection of yourself, that maybe you don't want to be that way. I worked with a lot of people that they see things in people, and even just looking, saying, okay, I don't want to be like that. I don't want to do those things they do. That is also saying, well, then by me not wanting to do what they want to do, it's creating that resistance of your own inner self, of your own inner growth, to be able to expand who you are, to see yourself in a different reflection, to see something different from a different perspective that only you could see through the eyes of somebody else, because we can only see a certain perspective, and that perspective is based on our own belief systems, our own truths, our own awarenesses that create these beliefs, and not to mention unconscious programs that we've adopted from experiences, people, and things that are running inside of us that we're not even fully aware of what's happening um, in our actions sometimes, that we can't see until we're willing to see ourselves in the reflection. And so, that being said, I just want to kind of, there's a reason why I'm sharing this message, because I made a huge mistake last week. And that mistake is piece of what rippled into every area of my life, that turned everything upside down, that changed my entire schedule last week, as well as, a neighbor was moving and a friend was assisting her with help and helping with different things with that, and doing some things for other people, and also doing some certain things that need to come up. But also the mistake I made really like just shifted everything with everything and everyone around me. And I'm going to share with you what that is in a minute, but I just want to recap for a second, because there's a lot of people joining still, and I just want everyone to know what we're talking about and the point of what we're talking about. First of all, this is my live that I've been doing weekly on Thursdays at just a time that I know that it works for me to come online. And that is that I'm teaching people, as they've went through this rebirthing process, to learn how to rebirth themselves for who they truly are in the new version. Because once we go through a rebirth and we've lost everything around us, and nothing like is a reflection of who we are, and we're being stripped down of certain things, maybe in our physical life, in our reality, and our thoughts, feelings, emotions, we're having to reinvent things from a new place. And mostly, me being a woman, like for me, it's really me stripping down my masculine side that's been known how to do everything, that helped me get where I am here today, but doesn't go forward with me 100%. I'm not going to say there's not parts of it, because we still need our masculine side, even if we're feminine. But I'm really going into this place of learning femininity and learning to embrace it and learning how to live that in my daily life. And that being said, that calls for, habits or thoughts or actions or emotions or feelings or thoughts. And all of those things are having to be rewired, reset, and reprogrammed. And it can be quite intense sometimes, because, you can really look at that and be like, okay, well, who am I? And if anybody else has ever had that feeling of who am I? And I got to tell you, since my beloved champ crossed the bridge, it'd be a month in 4 days. It's been one of the most impactful things in my life, to actually bring all of things together for me as well. But to also revisit everything I've ever done, because he went through everything with me. So, you don't lose a pet like that, just like a death or a grieving of anyone. And you revisit everything, gets like moves like a movie through you to revisit your entire past. And so that in itself is a form of a death of your own self, going through a grieving process through something. And so it still piggybacks and mirrors, though, the reinvention of the new version of who you are. So, you know, today in this reinvention process, what I'm talking about is mistakes that we can make. That are we allowing those mistakes to define us of who we are? Are we using those mistakes for growth, both, personally, spiritually, professionally? It all links together, or even in, relationships. So how are you embracing your mistakes? Okay, so I want to now share with you, first of all, some strategies maybe to embrace them, and then I'm going to share with you my story of the mistake I made last week. But I would say some of the strategies that can help you when you are trying to embrace these mistakes is the first and foremost thing you need to do is you need to take responsibility and own the mistake. You need to truly be like, okay, I was responsible. I made the mistake. I, you know, I didn't mean to. Most, mistakes are unconscious, technically. A mistake isn't a mistake because we know we're screwing up something. It's because we don't technically know what we're doing that is affecting somebody else through the mistake sometimes. And so, the key in that, though, is when you own those mistakes, then you can actually also, you're not pointing the finger to anyone. And so you're taking full accountability for it. So how can you fully be blamed by someone if you own it, right? Because then you're showing up as being that raw person, that real person that is a reflection of the divine, and knowing that in the divine, the good and the bad is all that is, and we're a part of that. So it's not about 100% being, again, in this perfect state that we perceive perfect. But what if making a mistake is perfect? And I know with the mistake I made last week, it was perfect. And again, I'll share with that again in a minute. But most importantly, when you do make the mistake and then you begin to take responsibility for it, there can be, you got to find forgiveness in it. Either allowing somebody to forgive you, asking them to forgive you. And in addition to that, usually what that points back to, though, is you learning how to forgive yourself and learning to not hold yourself like accountable to yourself past the ownership. To be like, that my hands are tied on some level because I screwed up and I can't change it now. But what I can do going forward is learn from it. And most importantly, I want to tell you what I did this last week was learning how to not to own it, but to not allow it to define who I am. And again, I want to clarify that, to not allow it to define that I am not perfect, that I am a screw up, or that I am not good enough. That's the piece that, we tend to beat ourselves up for over and over and over. And I know I have in the past. So making the kind of mistake I made last week was something I've never even made. And I feel like it's one of the biggest mistakes I've probably ever made. And also took it and handled it the most graceful. And a piece of that was because I took the ownership in it and I took the responsibility of it. And I had to share with a group of people what my mistake was, because basically, I'll just kind of lead into that. What it is we had an event for 11 people on the calendar, and I put it down on the wrong day. And so not only did I put it on the wrong day, like it wasn't one day, there were 2 days we were with them. Okay. So we were doing an evening event to open their ceremony of their event that they were doing, and then followed that by the next day. It was a land journey of going out and taking them into the vortexes and going through a process of like helping them connect to themselves and connect to the land and do healing work through that process to find more discovery in themselves and their inner selves, but doing it out in the land here in the vortexes, which is what we do. So with that being said, I had all my ducks in a row. I reached out to the person that was actually hosting and facilitating this retreat that we were just a part of, got all the information, got the address, and spoke to Jeremiah, and he's like, I have this on the schedule, but he had it on the schedule for the right day. And looked at my calendar, said, no, I have it down on this day. So that was kind of just the end of that. Just still thought I didn't even think to go look anything up. I don't even know. I can't even tell you why I didn't dig deeper. I will tell you next time I would dig deeper if he had it down. But I just assumed when I saw it on the calendar that was the day it was. So basically, I'm in a phone call with someone that was wanting to book another group event and working on that. And he had went to do stuff, which was like one of the first and probably only days that had even happened since we'd moved to Sedona. And so the Jeep was out with Turo. He had the car. He didn't have a cell phone. I had no way to contact him. And the person that we were due there, and I didn't even know it. And so she's messaging saying, I had you down to be here 40 minutes ago. And I'm like, I looked at my calendar. And the first thing I got to tell you is I went like into shock because with Champ having passed, I'd been being in this state of not knowing what day it is, what time it is, or where my life even has been. And so at first I'm just like, thinking I got my own day wrong, being like it was, say, on a Wednesday into Thursday, but it was Tuesday and Wednesday. So I had to it's kind of like if you ever went to drink a glass of water and, you go to drink water, but then you pick up and somebody had a Sprite or something in it. And then you go to take it, drink, and it's like, oh my God, that's Sprite. And I don't even drink Sprite, but I thought it was water. Right. And it gives a shock to your system. So I felt this shock to my system when she had mentioned that it was, that day, and I got it wrong. And so I felt like my hands were super tight. I felt like it was even coordinated that way because I couldn't even tell her okay, well, I could tell her we'll still come, but it was also an evening, meaning it was going to get late, but I couldn't even give her a time because I had no way to get there or to get in touch with him. So basically that left this group hanging. We were like the opening ceremony for it. And so then she had basically, I didn't find this out to the next day, let them know that I had an emergency come up. And then I felt horrible. That's all I can tell you. I have never not showed up for anything like that. That somebody's counting on me, especially this has been going on and being planned, and you got an event and it's a group of people counting on you. And then your person, here I had double thing and all these people counting on us. And so I apologized, but it just didn't even matter because there was no words that I could say that would fix it or be able to make it okay because I couldn't fix it. And that's the thing I will tell you out of it that I have to say is it was something I couldn't fix, where maybe in the past I've always known how to reroute something, or I've been the one that's happened to something to me and I could finagle whatever needs to be happened to, but I was in totally in no control of it. So basically, she had messaged me back and said, and I said, well, can we come a different time? Can we come later? All these things. So she said, I'm gonna have to get back to you. I'm gonna go do something with them, and I'm gonna get back to you. And she said, but it have to be later because she was had the group going. So I messaged back because it wasn't long. He came home and I'm like, okay, well, let me at least get ready. We could maybe go do like a bedtime sound healing, which we were gonna do sound healing anyway. And so she messaged back and just said, can you do tomorrow evening instead? And I said, yes, because actually the next day was whenever I had it in the evening. But what that piggybacked was now we had scheduled for somebody else to help them move the next day or to do some things the next day. And that would have been the Thursday. And so now I had to move what was going to be the following day to that day. And then I had to move everything around. Let's just put it that way. And kept me in limbo, kept everyone around me in limbo but it all worked out. And the thing I knew, so here's what happened that night. So I want to share with you what I learned out of that night while they were in their ceremony and we couldn't be there because I messed up. I sit down and just went inside myself and said, I have to go inside and I just need to meditate. I need to send energy. And so I went into the Ho'oponopono prayer of, I'm sorry, please forgive me. I love you. Thank you. And I just kept sort of repeating that until I found peace inside of me. And with that all being said, then what I took away also from it is knowing that anytime I have my own event, that I experience exactly what is the collective experiences. And so I knew going into the event, that meant that me showing up to take responsibility to in front of a group of people that had been relying upon our showing up to say, I made a mistake. I put it down the wrong day. I'm sorry for that mistake. I don't have any words big enough to express my apology. But what I do know is that I can show up here and I can take responsibility for it. And that being said, I just shared with them, the power of making a mistake and giving that permission to people. And with 5 to 10 minutes, it was opening people up in a way that they could see themselves in my reflection, down to the person that was supposed to be the camera person didn't realize till after I'd even said all this, went to get out as we were going on the tour, the camera to be the camera person for this event. They forgot their camera. And I was like, you see, what can you do? And I can tell you by me having done what I did, showed her that her making a mistake was also acceptable in herself and from other people. Now, what the takeaway I also want to tell you in that. So not only are you taking responsibility for it, and not only are you basically asking for forgiveness or apologizing for it and forgiving yourself, but to turn it into love. And that's the other piece of this. So being able to love through it anyway. For the host of this event to be able to then, recognize that, I took responsibility, showed these people the example that even between her and I, of her being able to forgive me and shake it off for the next day and not let it go forward with her because she was frustrated, and I don't blame her because I left her hanging. But for her to be able to forgive me and us to be able to navigate that day from a place of love and showing acceptance of each other, of honest mistakes, was one of the most powerful things we probably could have shown that group, and that they needed to see that in action in a live experience for then to get the same thing they needed from it in their own life, in their own experiences, in their own day-to-day experiences. So as always, I come here and I share with you the mistakes or my experiences, mistakes too. And I just want to recap because some of you may be joining me that haven't heard this, but I accidentally turned on some blue setting before I came in here to do my live and I can't get it off. So that being said, I look like a Smurf on YouTube and on um, Facebook, but I'm here anyway. And I'm taking responsibility for that. And I could let that stop me and try to be perfect at it and fix this blue screen, or I can show up and just share who I am and let you see the version of me that is human, and to show you and give you permission to do the same. So that's my story for you this week. That's my tip for you this week for the reinventing of your true self, is being able to embrace your mistakes with love, and to most importantly forgive yourself through the process, and to be able to in that love to know that it's something for you to learn and grow from, and that as you go forward, it doesn't define who you are, it enhances who you are. Okay, so I send loads of love. And oh, one more thing I do want to say about that is that whole trickling effect is how I wasn't even able to be here last week. And then I started to show up on Friday instead. Had everything open and ready. I wasn't going to, there was no way with all that going on I could even make it here to do my live on Thursday. But I had it ready for Friday. And then there were some things that took place on Friday that jumbled up my schedule again from the whole trickle effect of a lot of things. And next thing you know, it was like 4 or 5 o'clock, and I was spent from the emotional aspects of what I went through with all of that. I was spent. And like, I guess I'll just be here next Thursday. And that's why I'm here today, sharing with you why I wasn't here last Thursday, and sharing with you the example of being able to embrace your true self. So if you're going through this journey and maybe you are making mistakes, or maybe you're not, clear on who you're becoming as you reinvent this new version of you, and you strip down like all the things that no longer serve you, and you're needing clarity, then know that that's what I'm here for. And so you can book and schedule a clarity session with me, one-on-one, and the link is in the description above or below. And Heidi, thank you. Thank you for showing. I was wondering if you're here, Heidi. So thanks for showing up, and you're very welcome, Heidi. And I do also want to thank everyone that's reached out to me for Champ. And I also want to give everyone a quick update for that. The book is finished, and it is in the some of the early, middle stages of the editing. I've almost got it edited myself more than once, and the first part of it is already went to the editor for some of the final edits. So the book, if you're not familiar with, my dog passed, it'll be a month coming up on the 10th, and it's for my 14-year-old Staffordshire Bull Terrier, my soul partner, and we had a mission together. And there's a book that is about all the lessons he taught me over the last 14 years, but the book has been in process for 10 years. And since his passing, that is how I'm investing my time right now for my own healing, which is teaching me even more. So that book will be coming out soon. I'll give you the release date. And even though it's, about, got dog humor and dog language, and, about a combination, not necessarily just dogs. It does have some history of dogs and history of his breed, but it's truly about you being able to wake up the champ inside yourself. And then there's 8 tricks in it that is to help you live your best life, that is basically taught through the example of living a dog's life. Okay, so it's very powerful, and I can't wait to share it because it's so close to my heart right now. Always has been, but it's really bringing me back around full circle to the journey. My journey started being launched into coming here to even teach these things through the lessons he taught me, and me being his voice to show up for him. So much love, and I'll see you guys next Thursday. And may you always face your fears, find freedom, and go forward. And make sure to check out the link for the clarity session if that's something you're needing. I love you guys. I'll see you next week.